Night Freedom production teams, I just wanted to do a little review on the role of the service program coordinator. Um, Really, the purpose of this role is kind of like the glue for the day. Um, you are responsible for making sure that everyone else knows what's happening and knows where they're supposed to be when and all of that kind of stuff. So, as much as possible, this person should have the mentality of being calm, cool, and collected. They should be able to make quick decisions under pressure. They should be somebody who is detail oriented, someone who can lead people well, is a good communicator, and is organized, that kind of thing. So, the role of the service program coordinator actually starts earlier in the week. Just like the worship team prepares songs early in the week, the service program coordinator needs to prepare by knowing the flow of the gathering. So they should be checking Planning Center throughout the week and reviewing the gathering, ensuring that they know what's happening. Usually around Thursday or Friday, Planning Center should be finalized. The MC scripts should be located in Planning Center, which you can find if you go to Planning Center and you go to MC Intro. You can see the scripts here. You can see who the MCs are. These bullets should be updated as well. And if they're not, you can reach out to your production lead at your campus. So that's how you begin to prepare during the week. And then you also want to be checking your weekly Slack channels. If you are the service program coordinator of that week, you should be in the worship channel, the production channel, and the broadcast channel for that week so that you can communicate well with your teams. A lot of times there will be additional details that are posted in the worship production or the broadcast channel. Those channels in Slack are usually labeled with the date and then the department, so worship, production, or broadcast, and then the campus. So Middle River is abbreviated MR, Bel Air, BA, Rising Sun, RS. Okay, so you're keeping an eye on your Slack channels, you're keeping an eye on Planning Center, you're familiar with everything that's going on and what should be happening for that gathering. You arrive at your campus on Sunday at the scheduled time in Planning Center, and you're going to do a couple things. Right off the bat, you're going to log into Planning Center on the main computer right here, and you're going to print your production team a couple copies of the Planning Center plan. So you do that by going to the plan. You're going to click this print button. You're going to do it as a PDF. I don't like to include the times. This is fine. All of that. Submit, and it's going to save it to your downloads. You'll open that up, and then you will print it. All of you have a printer that is connected to that main media computer, so you can just print from there. Then you're going to check the worship channel for mic assignments and assure that the sound engineer has a copy, either digital or printed. So you can check with your sound engineer ahead of time. In Bel Air, we have the mic assignments on a computer at front of house, but that's not true for everybody. Sometimes the broadcast engineer may want one. I think they have a computer back there, but if not, you can just go to Slack and you'll go to the worship channel for that day. So here's worship BA, and it looks like Rachel hasn't posted mic assignments yet. Let me see if this one has mic assignments. No. No, mic assignments aren't posted for this week yet because I'm making this recording on a Wednesday, but normally your mic assignments would be posted in the worship channel. It would be a PDF little chart with names and vocal numbers, and you would make sure that the sound engineer has that and print it if you need to. The lights. You're going to check in with your lighting operator. Do they have the right show file? Are the outputs mapped? Now, this is something that your production lead should have done earlier in the week, but if for some reason something's happened and they don't have the right show file, or the outputs aren't mapped correctly, you can just reference our YouTube channel, which I have pulled up here, and there's a file for Freedom Church Hog PC startup procedure, lighting output mapping, and there's one also here on running a show file. There's one for loading a show file. So there's plenty of resources here in our YouTube channel on how to do that. You want to make sure that the hazer is filled with fluid, so double check that they've done that. And then just as they are running cues and testing things in the gathering, you just want to make sure that all of the cues are operating as expected. And if not, you can always call the red phone and reach out to Bel Air. Before you do that, obviously run through all of your normal troubleshooting. There's binders located at each of your campuses with troubleshooting options. And again, you can check the YouTube channel as well. All right, media. You're going to check with your media operator. It's important that you guys don't only test lyrics during rehearsal. Your worship team should come prepared with their lyrics, and obviously you want to spend time running lyrics with them. However, your media operator should also spend some time just double checking that all of the content works as it's supposed to. So we want to test the pre and post gathering content. We want to make sure that all the slides have transitions and are set to backgrounds when appropriate. So if something's set to a foreground instead of a background on the pre-post gathering, it can clear the music. If something doesn't have a transition, like it doesn't dissolve from one slide to another, it can snap. And there are videos on how to fix those things in our YouTube channel. You want to check any stage displays and make sure that the back wall is showing lyrics when appropriate, MC notes when appropriate, timers when appropriate. So as you click on the first slide to any section on ProPresenter, it should trigger something different on the stage display. You just want to make sure that those are aligned. If they're not, you can edit those. You want to check any videos or music to ensure it's looping or not looping, as expected, using Inspector. So again, like a bumper video or a bumper. Okay, so a bumper video, you would want to not loop. You want to make sure that that fades to clear at the end. For a worship background, that's a video, we want that to loop because we want it to continue to show the background under the lyrics the whole time. So just making sure that everything does what it's supposed to do. You want to test all of the Stream Deck buttons that will be used during the day and ensure that they are operating as expected. So checking in with your media operator, having them go through the different Stream Deck buttons. So have you tested the broadcast buttons? Have you tested the baptism camera buttons if it's Baptism Sunday? Anything like that you just want to make sure that they're operating as expected. And if they're not, then let's spend some time troubleshooting that. Is the Stream Deck need to be rebooted? Do we need to relaunch the GUI? Do we need to relaunch the ATEM software? Are one of the outputs mapped incorrectly in the ATEM software? Any of that. If you have issues, you can always call the red phone or go to the YouTube channel. And then if any flow songs have been added, you want to make sure lyrics are ready in ProPresenter. So that involves checking in with your worship leader. A lot of times we do flow between song 2 and 3. is usually the case, and sometimes that's spontaneous, sometimes it's planned. Sometimes it's just doing a couple extra bridges and choruses of whatever song they're in, but you just want to check and see what the worship leader has in mind and make sure that the media operator adds those lyrics as needed. Okay, so that's what you're doing in the morning as everyone's rehearsing and all of that. Production tag in. Okay, so on after all team, you're going to bring everybody back to the predetermined location in Rising Sun. This is everyone gathering up around the sound booth. In the sound booth in Middle River, a lot of times you guys gather up at the front of the stage. In Bel Air, we meet in the green room. So just wherever that location is that you all circle up together. And this meeting can seem a little silly sometimes because it's like everyone knows what's in Planning Center, but it's important to just take the flow and walk through everything. So the people that need to be in this meeting are worship, production, your MCs, and your speaker. All right, so you gather everybody together, make sure everyone is there. It's really important that they be there. And you're going to run through the Planning Center plan, focusing on transitions. And what I mean by transition is anytime we're going from one section of the gathering to the next, right? So, okay, the 5-minute countdown is on. What time should the MCs be coming out? Some days they come out at 2 minutes on the countdown. Some days it's 1 minute and 30 seconds on the countdown if they have a little less to talk about. Sometimes they wait till 0 to come out. So we need to talk about that because number one, the MCs need to know when they need to be on the stage. And number two, our lighting operator needs to know when they need to be prepared to put the lights up, or the sound engineer needs to be paying attention to when those lights are coming up. You also want to check what mics the MCs are using and make sure that the sound engineer knows what mics the MCs are using. All right, and then MCs to worship. That should be Ableton. And you just want to be clear, for downstream campuses, if it is a broadcast day, MCs are okay to go over the countdown, but they should never end early from the countdown, okay? We'd never want to lose buffer time, so if the MCs go out at 2 minutes and they have finished all of their things they need to say by 30 seconds, they need to come up with 30 more seconds of things to say before we hit that Ableton pre-roll. All right, and then worship into the message. This could also be worship into the ministry moment. How is that speaker going to know when they're going to come up? How does the song end? Does it end up and celebratory, or does it end more solemn? Which worship person is going to give a nod to the speaker so that they know when they can come up on stage? All right, so then that moment, sorry, I'm just going through all of these. Who's leading the ministry moment? How does worship end? Who will give the speaker the cue to come up? Who's going to move the podium? If it's a live day, somebody's got to move the podium. It can be you, it could be an MC, it could be random Dream Team member number one. We just need to know who's doing it. How long should the band stay up at the end of worship? The keys, like sometimes a pastor, will do a quick worship transition and then they want the keys to stay and play until they read their Bible verse, or maybe they want the keys to stay until they pray, or maybe they just aren't really sure and then they never dismiss the keys and then the keys have been standing up there the whole time. So just making that clear when the keys are supposed to leave. You want to ask for on-deck cues and band-up cues. A lot of times the speaker will know when they want the band to come up, but they don't really know when the band needs to be on deck. My recommendation is just ask the speaker, when do you want the keys to start playing, or when do you want the band to start playing? Find that moment in their script, and then just give the band an on-deck cue that's like maybe a page or two behind that. Usually I look for a slide that they would see on the screen, but if there's not one near there, I just try and pick out a defining line in the script that I know the pastor is going to say. That'll help. And other questions. Do the MCs have the blessing memorized? If not, do they need you to write it on a cue card for them? We don't want to use phones on stage, so just we have cue cards available that we can print the blessing for them so that they can use that. They're nice and pretty. Those should be located in your production booth. Ask the speaker or campus pastor for anything on their heart to share with the team. So once you've got all the details about how the message is ending, how next step is going to happen, all of that, then we're going to get ready to close out this meeting. You've gotten everybody to answer the questions that you've asked. And the campus pastor or the speaker for the day is just going to share a little bit about their message. And then you yourself, a worship leader, the campus pastor, and MC are going to lead the group in prayer. But we really want to encourage everyone to pray out loud together at the same time. This is a moment for us to just really hone in and center ourselves on what the speaker is speaking about for the day, and get ready to do what we're going to do. When the 5-minute countdown triggers, you want to just say a quick, hey, 5-minute countdown's on to everybody on the team, just so that they know and they can get ready. All right, so there's some additional things if it's a broadcast day versus a live day of what you need to do to prepare. So first thing is, if it's a broadcast day, on Resi, on the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to click Events. You're going to refresh the event list and select the appropriate event for the day in the list. You're going to clear the cache. On the left-hand side of the screen, you should click on Cues. Check for the rehearsal cues in Resi. When you get there, there should be a mic test and a sync up cue for you to run with. You're going to ensure that the teams, the production and the worship teams, rehearse this transition to Universal, whether it's to a bumper video or for a song sync in rehearsal. I would even rehearse it with doing the putting things on the screen. So if we're going song 3 into the message, let's rehearse that using the broadcast buttons on the Stream Deck. Make sure things go on the screen correctly. Ensure the sound engineer runs the mic test for the broadcast speaker. Usually we've got Wade's mic at least mostly dialed in, but sometimes there's issues, and so it's just good to let them have a chance to practice that. For Rising Sun, you will almost always use the Saturday night gathering as your rehearsal gathering, but Middle River, since you're still a gathering behind us, and Lake Norman, you're a gathering behind us, you can use Sunday cues as your rehearsal. Communication. In the broadcast channel, On Deck and Band Up cues will be posted. You'll want to copy those On Deck and Band Up cues and post them in your worship channel and your production channel for your team for the day. During the gathering, you want to stay in communication with the broadcast campus about buffer and timing to ensure the downstream campuses don't get ahead of the broadcast campus. You don't have to give me updates, or whoever in Bel Air updates for every single moment, but just saying song 1, MC out, something like that, just so that we know kind of where you are. And then once you have synced up, you'll want to give us a update on the buffer, just so we know if you guys have a buffer that's super big. It can cause issues between gatherings if the gathering's too long, so we just want to keep an eye on that. There is a whole video about this Resi stuff on the YouTube channel, and setting cues, retrieving cues, getting events, all of that, so that'll be helpful to you. The sync moment. This is probably the most crucial moment for the SPC on a Sunday for a broadcast day. You guys in Middle River and Rising Sun have a little LED light that is back in your booth, and this is how you let the MC know whether or not you're ready for us to sync up. We have to make sure that there's enough buffer time, and you want to make sure that you actually have the cue and you're ready to fire. So you're going to post in the broadcast channel when the MC is on stage for the ministry cue. You want to make sure that your MC light is set to red. You want to post in the broadcast channel when you have received the cue for sync up. That just lets Bel Air know that you guys have the cue and you're ready to go. You should see a post come through from Bel Air that says cue set once they have set the cue. When the cue comes in, you're going to pause Resi and press go to on the cue that comes in. Once it's paused, you're going to tell your sound engineer that Resi is paused and that they can unmute the necessary universal channels. And then you're going to wait for the MC to finish their worship transition. Okay? So, usually the MCs will have a verbal cue. Sometimes it's in Jesus' name, amen. Sometimes it's with hands lifted high or something like that, that lets the worship team know that they're ready to close out their MC moment. You want to listen to the local MD. So the best way for you to do that is to put on the lighting operator headphones or the media headphones, whoever it may be that is closest to your Resi computer. And when the local MD says cue Resi, you can finish the progression that they're playing and you're going to fire the next song. So you'll press play on the Resi decoder. It's best to go off of your local MD's cue, because sometimes if they're in the middle of playing a chord progression, it's jarring to suddenly have to stop and start in a new progression. So you're just gonna wait for either Jenny or Eric or I don't know who MDs in Middle River, Josh Harrison, or whoever it is that's the MD to fire that. Okay, once you've pressed play, you should not press pause or rewind Resi for any reason during the gathering, because what you do to that Resi computer is also happening live on the screens now for people. So don't rewind, don't press pause, nobody touch it, nobody breathe on it, kind of thing. You're going to look at the spot that says buffered time remaining and send that in the broadcast channel. And then you're going to watch the Resi feed, okay? So as soon as we sync up for a worship transition, the screens are not live, right? The Bel Air band is still playing. The speaker hasn't come out yet. So your job now is to watch the two cameras. You're going to see the first two screens on the Resi decoder. The first screen is camera 1, and that camera is set for the speaker towards the end of song 3, and you're going to watch for the speaker to come into frame. When you see that camera 1 is set to the LED shot and the speaker is in frame, you're going to cue the media operator to go to broadcast center. Okay? Middle River, I know you guys are just using broadcast all right now, and that's fine. We just want to make sure that we have the center screens with a shot of P-Dub or whoever's speaking when they start walking out on stage. Now, you don't want to switch the side screens yet. All right, this is kind of a feel it out moment. So this just takes practice on what feels right, what sounds right, what looks right. And I'll give some examples in a video and post it at some point for you guys. But you want to look at what the speaker is doing. Are they quickly transitioning out of worship and into the message? If that transition moment is pretty quick, you guys can go ahead and bring the lights down on the stage and switch to dual video or Resi on all of your screens, however you do that. If for some reason the speaker brings us back into worship, so they come out, they start to celebrate, they start to pray or whatever, and then they bring the worship back into singing, what we don't want to do is we don't want our worship team that's local, like your campus worship team, in the dark, right? So they're still the ones leading us in worship. So we want the lights up on the stage while our worship leaders are leading. We want the lyrics to still be coming through on the side screens. So your pro presenter should still be live on the side screens, and it should just be that center shot of the speaker on camera 1. Okay? So as soon as you see a surefire way to know that we have turned and we are moving into the message is when you see that title slide go on camera 1. So the title slide happens, and you should be dual video at that point. Worship is ended, we're definitely starting the message, so dual video at that point, and then your stage lights can come all the way down using the fader. You're going to continue to keep an eye on the broadcast channel just during the gathering. You'll continue to receive updates like, hey, there's a weird noise that happens at some point in the gathering, and you can't really, there's only so much you can do with the buffer time, but as much as you can, as much as you can, just keep an eye on and keep your team updated of what's going on. Before the end, or when the message is ending at the Bel Air campus, the broadcast campus will send a quote from the speaker of how the sermon ends, and you should share this you should post that quote into your worship channel and your production channel so that they can listen for the cue and be prepared to return to local from broadcast. So you'll want to, once you have that cue, you're going to want to stand with your media and lights operators during that transition and help cue them for when to pull the broadcast off the screen, to fade up the stage lights, for the sound engineer to pull down the universal speaker, just so that we can have mics ready for worship. Usually the broadcast campus will also tell you if the worship team starts to sing under the speaker, so that the sound engineer can have those microphones ready to go. Okay, so that's everything for a broadcast day. A lot of it, like I said, is just, you're very involved in Resi, but it's still very much just making sure everyone knows what's happening when it's happening, and that's all clear. On a live day, there's still a lot that you need to be aware of and be thinking about and be ready for. The first thing is that you want to care well for your speaker. If your speaker has a script, which they should, you want to get them to send their script, either airdrop it to the SPC computer, or they can put it in the production channel that you created. You're going to want to ask what microphone they're going to be using. Are they using a headset or a handheld? And you want to make sure that the sound engineer has time to do a mic test with the speaker. Usually we can do that right after worship is done, their rehearsal, before we go to all team. You want to ask for the speaker when they want the band to play and find an on-deck cue. Like I said, around 1 to 3 pages prior to that point, and post that on those cues in the worship channel. For the speaker, do they have any props? If so, we're going to want to mark out where those props are going to go on the stage. You should have some tape in the production booth at your campus where you can mark those props. You're also going to want to make sure that you have enough people to carry those props so that they can be carried out when the speaker comes out. Who's going to move the podium? Again, you can do this, or you can ask someone else to do it. It could be a dream team member or anybody. It could be so-and-so's buddy who is just there for a gathering. You do want to make sure that whoever is moving this podium is, dressed appropriately. I'll just leave it at that. All right. For the media operator, you want to print a copy of the script. You want to take a highlighter and run through the slides and make sure that there are no mistakes in the slide, that all the slides that are needed are there. Sometimes it's a good idea to even bring your speaker into this. They should have sent their notes earlier in the week to your production lead, but even I make mistakes. I'm a terrible speller, and so even when I do slides, I sometimes have spelling mistakes or I missed a reference that's incorrect. So at some point in the morning, just making sure that all of those slides are correct and up to date. And then something that you can do that's just super helpful is checking on Resi. You can do this on your SPC computer, or you can do it on your own personal computer. If you wanted to bring a computer, you don't need to. Just do it on the SPC computer. You want to make sure that your camera is pointed at the speaker appropriately, that it's got a good look to it. Usually, we kind of shoot for head to pockets in Bel Air. You can do a wider shot if you wanted to. If you have a speaker that moves around a lot, is walking, then you may want to do like a more head to toe shot. Totally up to you, but just make sure that camera is pointed correctly. You're going to log into Resi, so the studio.resi.io. And then if you use this production@myfreedom.org and this password livinginfreedom1! This will give you a view-only version of Resi at all of the campuses. So you're going to go to the media tab and select your gathering video. And you just want to make sure that the audio is coming in, that the camera looks good. If there's anything that needs to be corrected or something that doesn't seem right, you can check with your sound engineer, your production campus lead, or you can always call me on the red phone in cases of emergency. So I hope this is helpful. The service program coordinator is just such an important role. I know sometimes it can feel like, wow, I'm just sitting here and my only job in the day is to press play on Resi. But really, it's so much more than that. You guys have a huge role to play on all the days. So if you have any questions, just let me know. And yeah, appreciate all that you guys do.